Some sad breaking news to report to you tonight. We are just getting word that former Vice President Walter Mondale has died today at the age of 93. Walter Mondale, Fritz to his friends, was, of course, vice president under President Jimmy Carter from 1977 to 1981. He made his own run for president in 1984. He did not win that race, but Mondale may have achieved his most lasting legacy in national politics for who he chose to be his own vice presidential nominee in 1984. He picked Geraldine Ferraro to be his running mate, and she was the first female vice presidential nominee on a major party ticket in U.S. history. Again, they did not win that race in 84. Reagan won a second term in a true landslide presidential election. Mondale and Ferraro won Minnesota and D.C., and Reagan won the rest. It would be a long time before there was another woman on a major party presidential ticket in this country, but it did happen. Geraldine Ferraro died in 2011. She'd never lived to see the country's first woman vice president, but Walter Mondale did. It feels somehow fitting that one of the last people Vice President Mondale reportedly spoke to before he died today was his successor, Vice President Kamala Harris. Mondale's friend and former campaign staffer Tom Cosgrove tells Axios tonight that while he and his family believed his death was imminent after his calls yesterday with Vice President Harris and President Biden, as well as Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter, Mondale, quote, perked up after those calls. Vice President Mondale basically is credited with having remade the vice presidency, which Kamala Harris now occupies. The idea that we now take as a given that the vice president will take on all kinds of important policy portfolios, will be in charge of key projects, will be a partner in governing with the president. That whole idea of the vice presidency is credited as starting with Vice President Mondale and with the constructive relationship that he had with President Carter. Mondale was, in fact, the first vice president to have an office in the West Wing. Tonight, former President Carter put out a statement in response to the news of Mondale's death. It says, in part, quote, Fritz Mondale provided us all with a model for public service and private behavior. Rosalind and I join all Americans in giving thanks for his exemplary life, and we extend our deepest condolences to his family. Senator Amy Klobuchar was a intern to Walter Mondale when she was in college and he was vice president. She released a statement about him tonight saying, in part, Walter Mondale set a high bar for himself. For his entire life, he kept passing it and raising it, passing it and raising it. Our world would be a better place if all followed his example. He will be sorely, sorely missed. Senator Klobuchar, thank you so much for joining us on very short notice upon getting this news. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. He was an incredible public service. And I think that probably the words that best capture it are the words on the Carter Library. And they were on the wall. And I was in there one day and I wrote them down and put a note in my purse and kept them forever. And it was what he said after they'd lost the election. And he looked back at their 4 years and he said, we told the truth, we obeyed the law, we kept the peace. And I think that pretty much sums up Walter Mondale's life. He was a man of incredible strength and dignity. He treated everyone with such kindness. And he went from a tiny little town as the son of a minister in Ceylon, Minnesota, all the way to the second highest office in the land.
Those words that you just quoted, I have interviewed you over the years on lots of different occasions, and more than once you have quoted me those words. I know how important Vice President Mondale was to you. You have often described him as your mentor in politics. Can you talk a little bit about what it was like to be an intern for him, first of all, when he was vice president, but also in what he was like as a mentor and why he meant so much to you?
Well, he spent time with the interns, which was incredible. We were just college students. He had us over for dinner at the vice president's house. I thought I was going to go there and do all these glamorous things and policy papers, and they had me do the furniture inventory. And I crawled over every desk and lamp and wrote down every number. And literally years later, I know two things, and I tell young people these lessons. One, he was honest, nothing was missing. But two, take your first job seriously, because he gave me that first job. And now I've got this one as a U.S. Senator of Minnesota. And he encouraged me while I worked with him at the law firm. He encouraged me to run for the U.S. Senate. He supported me for president. He was there every step of the way. And I think when you talked about Geraldine Ferraro, it wasn't just me. I think every little girl at the time knew that anything and everything was possible, just like when Kamala was standing on that inaugural stage. And I literally still remember what Geraldine Ferraro was wearing with her red dress and her pearls. And he did that. He asked her, he asked her to be the running mate. And he is just someone that has believed that his job after he left office, after getting defeated, as you so well explained, and running for president, it didn't end there. He saw his job as passing on the torch to the next generation of leaders. And so many people, when they lose political office, just kind of fade away. Not him. He was a pillar in our community, and he stood up for what he always did. And that was the title of one of his books, The Good Fight.
Mm-hmm. As somebody who just embodies the idea of upright decency in public service, ambition, yes, but most of all, solidity, decency, a life well lived, and not an enemy in the world. Fritz Mondale, former Vice President Mondale, dying tonight at the age of 93. Minnesota Senior Senator Amy Klobuchar, I know that he meant so much to you. Thank you for being with us tonight. I know it's a hard time, and it's an honor to have you here.
Thank you, Rachel.
All right. Senator Mondale, I should say, well, before he was vice president, he was senator of Minnesota. And one of the things I think that is worth remembering at times like this is that his path, as Senator Klobuchar said, from preacher's son in small-town Minnesota to the vice presidency, it's easy to sort of like see the beginnings and see the end in terms of the pinnacles that he reached in public life. But in his time as Attorney General in the state of Minnesota, in his time as senator in Minnesota, he just built brick by brick a solid, decent, scandal-free record of accomplishment and bravery. He was a senator during the Great Society programs, the Great Society legislation of the LBJ era, of course. And that meant that as a high-profile senator and a leader in his party at the time, he was key to getting so much civil rights legislation passed, to getting so many key environmental protections passed. The reason Jimmy Carter picked him to be his running mate, among other things, was because he was a known quantity and a proven effective public servant and leader. And as Senator Klobuchar said, even after leaving national office, remained a mentor and friend and pillar, both to his party and to the people of Minnesota, to the very, very end. Former Vice President Walter Mondale, dead today at the age of 93. Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.